What up? Welcome to another video. This week we're reviewing a commander that's not even legal yet when I'm recording this and when I'm uploading this, but it'll be legal in a little bit when it gets released. It's Dr. Eggman. It's from the Sonic the Hedgehog Secret Lair. Dr. Eggman, 5 mana, 3/6 Grixis. Not bad. He has flying, which is cool. And at the beginning of your end step, draw a card. Then each opponent faces a villainous choice, which is they either discard a card or you may put a construct, robot, vehicle card from your hand on the battlefield. What does this mean? It means they're probably going to keep choosing construct, robot, vehicle until you don't have any of those in your hand, and then it's kind of whatever. Cause yeah, it turns out they're not great. I named this deck Bad Guy by Billie Eilish because I was like, what if we just put every bad guy in this deck? So going through and looking at the creatures, there are a lot of bad people in this deck. A lot of artifacts makes sense, right? You're doing construct, robot, vehicle things. Anything tagged in orange here is like a potential hit with Eggman. I was just using this when I was going through the deck. I could probably turn it off, but I mean, I might as well keep it on. But yeah, 5 mana commander. You're gonna be running a lot of ramp, like an arcane signet. This is a vehicle. It also ramps, so you can play it, or you can just play it early for ramp. Deluxe Dragster, I'm really high on this card right now. I actually really like this. So he can't be blocked except by vehicles, which is sick, because who's playing vehicles in Commander? Like 1% of the population. And then whenever it deals damage to a player, you may cast target instant sorcery card from that player's graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that spell would be put into the graveyard, exile it instead. So you can just cast whatever from people's graveyards almost all the time, unless they're like removing your vehicle, which probably doesn't feel that bad. But yeah, I think this card's really cool. I like it a lot. We got ramp, we got ramp, we got not ramp. This is 4 mana when an opponent discards a card from his or her hand. You may draw a card. Because the deck's doing discard stuff, your commander can do discard stuff. Might as well put it in. It's a draw outlet. Imposter Mech. It's a vehicle, so it's playable through Eggman, and it enters as a copy of a creature, except it's a vehicle with crew 3, loses all other card types. This is still kind of just like a 2 mana clone that you can cheat out on your unstep, which is pretty nuts. That's ramp. This is protection. This is ramp. A lot of ramp. Ripclaw Wrangler, not ramp, it's a vehicle. When it enters, each opponent discards a card. It does the thing the deck wants to do. Sky Sovereign Console Flagship. When it enters or attacks, it deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker opponent controls. Also has crew 3 flying, so you can crew it with your commander, which is pretty neat. Yeah, it's a pretty good card. I don't know. It's kind of just a good generic vehicle, so I put in the deck. This is ramp. This is protection. Ramp. Not any of that actually. This is a vehicle. It has trample. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, has crew 3, and you may cast the Indomitable from your graveyard as long as you control 3 or more tapped pirates and or vehicles. That last bit's kind of irrelevant. It's kind of just like a Biden of Thassa or a Enduring Curiosity, but it's cheatable through your commander, which is why it's in the deck. Unlicensed Hearse, it's a vehicle. It's also just like super duper good graveyard hate. You can tap it, exile 2 cards from a single graveyard, and its power toughness is equal to the number of cards exiled with it. So it just keeps growing. And yeah, it's a 2 mana crew too. Later on in the game, it's going to be really big. Weatherlight, 4 mana 4/5 vehicle. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, loot the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a historic card, put it in your hand, put the rest on the bottom in a random order. So artifacts, legendary sagas, and are historic. Most of the things you cheat out with Dr. Eggman are artifacts or artifact adjacent creatures. Therefore, it kind of just gets more hits for the Eggman and turn trigger. Because yeah, you will just run out if you don't see any like card advantage or card draw, I think. On the creatures, Arbor of Woe. Additional cost, sack creature flying. When it enters, each one discards card and lose 2 life. You draw a card and gain 2 life. It's more in here for the card draw than the discard, but they're both good. It's not. It's like a 6 mana 5/4 with flying, so it's not great, but that's fine. Let me just get a quick drink of water. Chaos Defiler, 5 mana 5/4 with trample. So there's a big dude. He's a construct, so that's why he's in the deck. And when it enters battlefield or dies, each opponent choosing an online permanent that player controls, destroy one of them chosen at random. So it enters, it kills one of 3 threats on the board that different players have, and when it dies, it does the same, which is pretty cool. and it's secondly 0 mana 5/4 trample. Pretty good. Cityscape Leveler, 8 mana 8/8 construct. When you cast it and whenever it attacks, destroy one target non-land permanent. They make a Power Stone token, which is irrelevant because that's just, I think, tap it for colorless for artifact spells or abilities. But yeah, it's a 0 mana 8/8 with your commander. Combustible Gear Hulk, 6 mana 6/6 first strike. Construct, when it enters target opponent. When it enters, target opponent may have you draw 3 cards. If they don't, you mill 3, and then Combustible Gear Hulk burns them for the total mana value of the 3 cards milled. Dalty Voidwalker, 2 mana 3/2 shadow. If a card would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, instead exile it with a void counter, and you can tap, sack this creature, choose an exiled card an opponent owns with a void counter on it. You may play that card this turn without paying its mana cost. This is pretty neat if you get an opponent to discard a really big threat while Dalthy's on board, because you kind of just steal that threat. And then you can tap this, sack it, and then cast a big threat for free. And that's just like bonus value from a discard effect. Diluvian Primordial, 7 mana 5/5 flying. When it enters, for each opponent you may cast up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from that player's graveyard without paying its mana cost. If a spell cast this way would be put into the graveyard, exile instead. It's kind of just like a good top deck later on in the game. There's a few cards like that in this deck where I'm like, this card is just kind of big and good, and the deck ramps a lot, so just like having 7 mana is not unheard of unless you're playing really high power. So yeah, this is just one of them. It's also theft, so it's kind of mean in that sense. Emmet Selch, Unsundered, 3 mana 2/4 vigilance. When it enters or attacks, draw a card. Discard a card at the beginning of your upkeep. If there are 14 more cards in your graveyard, you transform them. He's a 6/6 vigilance, and during your turn you may play cards from your graveyard. If a card or token we put into your graveyard from anywhere, exile instead. Yeah, he's a villain, I'm pretty sure, from Final Fantasy 14. People goon for him, I think. That's all I really know about him. And he's like a villain. I don't follow Final Fantasy 14 much. But yeah, he draws a card, discards card. We're doing a little bit of a Reanimator subtheme in the deck because of all the discarding, so that's not bad for that. Yeah, decent card. Exterminator Magmark, 4 mana 5/3. It's a construct. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it targets only a single non-land permanent an opponent controls. If another opponent controls one or more non-land permanents that spell could target, choose one of those permanents, copy that spell. The copy targets the chosen permanent, and you can pay 2 to regenerate him. This first effect's actually really good. If you cast removal on a single creature in, like, I don't know, Chaos Warp or whatever, you Chaos Warp 2 things on the other 2 players' boards if you're in a 4-player pod. Let's also just pay 2 mana to regenerate, so it can be a little hard to get rid of. Go-Go Mysterious Mime, 4 mana 2/2 at the beginning of combat. On your turn, you may have Go-Go become a copy of another target creature until the end of turn. Its name is Go-Go, and then if you do Go-Go and that creature, each get +2/+0 and gain haste until the end of turn, and attack this turn of Fable. This is really sick. You can copy an Eggman and then have 2 Eggman triggers at the end of your turn. We're playing Kefka in the deck, so you can copy a Kefka, have 2 Kefka attack triggers to make everybody discard a card. This card's actually pretty good. I'm not playing it in the precon that it came in, but I think this card's really cool. K9 Mark 1, it's a robot, so it's playable through Dr. Eggman, and it gives your legendary creatures a ward 1, pretty much, so that's it. You can also pay or tap, make a legendary creature unblockable. That's cool. But yeah, it's kind of ward 1, weird value piece, not super good, but whatever. Kefka Grixis 4/5, when it enters or attacks, each player discards a card. You draw a card for each card type among discarded cards, and then you can pay each opponent sacrifice a permanent, you transform them, and then whenever opponent loses life during your turn, you draw that many cards. This card, pretty sick. I don't really think you actually want to flip it in this deck. I made another Kefka deck a while back. I can't remember the name of it, but he's on the thumbnail, talking about like an actual kind of Kefka combo deck with the flip, where you just flip, play Omniscience, try and go off on one turn with a bunch of ping effects and play through your deck. It's pretty cool. The other Kefka Dancing Mad, this is also from the precon. During your turn, he has Indestructible, which is crazy because he's a 7 mana 6/6. And then at the beginning of your step, exile a card at random from each opponent's graveyard. You may cast any number of spells from among the cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. Then each player who owns a spell you cast this way lose life equal to its mana value. It's a good value piece, and he's a villain. And it's a technically graveyard hate and theft. So yeah, this is a good villain bad guy card. Another good bad guy card, Kroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger, 2 mana 6/6. He's one of the not the elementals, the the lines that people all played in Modern Horizons from, I believe it's Theros? Yeah. So when he enters, sacrifice unless it was escaped. And then when he enters or attacks, each opponent discards a card. Then each opponent who didn't discard a non-land card loses 3 life. You can also pay double Rakdos, I guess. Exile 5 other cards from your graveyard, and you can cast them for that, for the escape cost. So yeah, it's kind of just a discard thing. And then later on in the game, you can replay them and get it on enter or attack, which is nice. Metalwork Colossus, 11 mana, 10/10, costs X less cast for X total mana value of non-creature artifacts you control. He's mainly construct while he's in the deck. You can also sacrifice 2 artifacts to return them from your graveyard to your hand. So you cheat him out, somebody kills them, you sacrifice 2 artifacts, return them, and then the next turn just cheat him out again. Noxious Gearhulk, 6 mana, 5/4 menace. When it enters, you may destroy an electric creature. If a creature is destroyed this way, you gain life equal to its toughness. It's kind of an end turn, just like destroy a creature with your commander, because it's a construct. It's a decent card overall, but it's not great. Oil Deep Gearhulk, double Dimir, lifelink cord 1. When this creature enters the target player's hand, you may choose a card from it. If you do, that player discards a card, then draws a card. So they still get the card back, which is a little less mean than just straight up targeting one player to discard from, which I'm not a massive fan of in Commander. But yeah, it's a discard outlet, and if somebody tutors on like a turn before and then doesn't play that card, you can kind of just like get rid of that card, snipe it from their hand, which is cool. And obviously, he's a construct. Refurbished Familiar, 4 mana, 2/1, affinity for artifacts. Flying, when it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. For each opponent who can't, you draw a card. If you're doing enough discarding, this can draw you like 2-3 cards. People know in Pauper, this is a very, very good card. It might be played in other formats too, I'm not actually sure. But yeah, Pauper, really, really good card. Sepulchral Primordial, 7 mana, 5/4, Intimidate, can't be blocked except by artifact or black creatures. And then whenever it enters, for each opponent, you may put up to 1 target creature card from that player's graveyard on the battlefield under your control. It's kind of just like Reanimate or 3 Zombifies, which is sick, because that's 12 mana worth of cards. Obviously, like 1 or 2 players is going to be better than the 3rd player that you pick from, but I think in terms of value, when you're ramping a lot, this is just a good card. Hey, she's here. Everybody hates this card. It's Turgid, God of Fright. Whenever opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent or discards a not permanent card, you may put that card from the graveyard on the battlefield under your control. This works for lands, this works for creatures, this works for enchantments. When your deck does a lot of discard, this is a very, very good card. You can also play it for its backside. Target player loses your life unless they sacrifice non-land permanent or discard a card, or you can pay for untapped Turgids on their turn. It's pretty much always being played for the front. This is a very, very mean card. I mean, it's a game changer for a reason. Look at that salt score, 2.7, Jesus. But yeah, when you're in a deck that's making a lot of people discard cards or sacrifice permanents, pretty good. The Speed Demon. I'm starting to think this is just better Phyrexian Arena. It has Find Trample, start your engines, and then at the beginning of your end step, draw X cards or X, and lose X life where X is your speed. So this will always draw you 1 right away. Unfortunately, it's a 5 mana instead of 3 mana enchantment, but it's also a 5/5. It has Flample. It's kind of a beater. And yeah, I think this card's really, really good. Might put it in more black decks. Thought Monitor, Construct, which is mainly why we're running it, and when it enters, draw 2. Also affinity for artifacts, which is nice. Tiny Bones, Bauble Burglar. Whenever opponent discards a card, exile it from their graveyard with a stash counter on it, and during your turn you may play cards you don't own with stash counters on them from exile, and mana of any type can be spent to cast those spells. This just gives you a payoff for making the opponents discard cards and letting you get more value by casting their stuff. Torrential Gearhulk, 6 mana, 5/6 flash. When it enters, you may cast target insert card from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that spell would be put into your graveyard, exile instead. It's a good mana, or just like kind of generic value piece. It's 6 mana, it can bring something back from your trash, so yeah, I kind of like this card when you're going big. And then you stole the rule. This card's pretty crazy in the deck. At the beginning of your end step, exile target creature you control, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. Then if it's the first end step of the turn, there's an additional end step. Mainly the second part is the most important part. You just get 2 end steps because you do get 2 Dr. Eggman triggers. Worst case scenario, everybody picks Construct when you don't have Construct in your hand. And then you just get to draw 2 on your end step, which is still pretty good. Also, if you have like a Kafka on board or something that ETB makes people discard, you can just flicker that twice, get 2 discards as well as the extra end step. This card really, really good in the deck. Kick off celebrations, 2 mana, start your engines. When this enchantment enters, you may discard a card if you draw 2 cards, and you can sack it. Creatures and vehicles gain haste until end of turn. Kind of just a good generic card. I don't know. It's a discard to draw 2, which I'm trying to play a bunch of in this deck because of the Reanimator aspect that I have in some of the instants and sorceries. But yeah, I think the haste is pretty cool. It's max speed, but whatever. Painful Quandary, 5 mana. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player loses 5 life unless they discard a card. People are likely to discard a card because losing 5 life, it happens 8 times and they're just dead unless you're playing life gain. So yeah, this is a really, really mean card, but it's pretty good. Waste Not. Whenever an opponent discards a creature card, you make a 2/2 black zombie creature. Whenever an opponent discards a land, you make 2 black mana. And whenever an opponent discards a non-creature, non-land, you draw a card. It's a good generic value card for when you're playing a discard deck with your opponents. On to the instance, Dark Ritual, it's ramp. Demand answers, sacrifice an artifact or discard a card, draw 2 cards. If you somehow make treasures or you have a useless artifact on board, you can sack that instead of discarding a card. But yeah, it's a draw 2. Spirits of Magistrate, 4 mana, exile each opponent's graveyards. When you do, choose up to 1 target creature card, exile this way, make a token that's a copy, except it's an artifact and loses all other card types. You just hit this on like a good piece with an activated or triggered ability and like sick. It's just a really, really good card for 4 mana. It is a little fringe. I'm not sure how great it is, but yeah. I want to try it into a bunch of matchups and see how good it works. Frantic Search, draw 2, trash 2, or untap 3 lands. It's just a pure value piece. It's technically a -1 in hand, but that's fine. Tainted Indulgence, 2 mana, draw 2, then discard a card unless there are 5 or more mana value among cards in your graveyard. That's pretty likely to happen with all like the drawing and trashing. So yeah, there's just kind of 2 mana, draw 2. Fairy's Time Twist, exile target permanent you control, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control to the beginning of the next end step. If it enters the battlefield as a creature, it enters with an additional 1/1 counter on it. This is a good flicker target for any of your discard outlets. This is also good as like protection. If somebody wants to board wipe, you can Fairy's Time Twist your Dr. Eggman or whatever big creature you have on board you don't want to lose. It'll avoid the board wipe, unlike most flicker effects, and then come back at the end of turn. When it comes back at the end of turn, if it is Dr. Eggman, I believe you'd still get the Dr. Eggman trigger. But yeah. Thrill of Possibility, discard a card, draw 2. Also, I'm thinking about this more. The Eggman trigger would probably miss timing because it returns at the beginning of the next end step. So yeah, maybe not. But yeah, discard a card, draw 2. And we're going to ignore lands for now. It's pretty whatever. The Planeswalker, we're running the Liliana of the Veil. Each player discards a card, +1, -2 each player, or target player sacrifice a creature, or -6. Separate all permanent target player control into 2 pile. That player sacrifices all permanents in the pile of their choice. It's kind of just +1 each player discards a card. It's a discard deck, might as well. I mean, in the Voltron strategies where they have like 1 creature on board, the -2 is pretty good. Gets around things like Hexproof, which is nice. It's kind of like an edict, but for 1 player. Then yeah, on to the sorceries. I kind of threw in Blasphemous Act last minute. The deck didn't really have any removal in it. I'm like, I should put in a board wipe just in case. Yeah, it's a board wipe. Breach Multiverse, 7 mana. Each player mills 10 for each player. Choose a creature or planeswalker card in that player's graveyard. Put those cards on the battlefield under your control. Then each creature you control becomes a Phyrexian in addition to their other types. I don't know, it's a good big value card. You're milling opponents, which they don't like. You're stealing stuff from graveyards, which they don't like. Yeah, it's a good bad guy card. And for 7 mana, when you're ramping enough, it's pretty fine. Draw a Course, 2 mana, draw 2, discard a card unless you attack this turn. Your commander is flying, you're pretty likely to attack. Worst case scenario, you're discarding a card and getting it back with something. Fraying Omnipotence, each player loses half their life and discards half their cards in their hand, then sacrifice half the creatures they control, round up each time. It's just a very mean card. I like it, but yeah, it's very, very mean. Highway Robbery, 2 mana, discard a card or sack a land. If you do draw 2, you can also plot it for 2. Later on in the game, you can just sack a land and not discard a card, or if you don't have the card in hand to sack, you can to discard. Yeah, I like this version of the card. There's so many discard a card, draw 2s, especially in red. So I kind of just went through and took the ones that I thought were the best in like awkward scenarios. Phyrexian Espionage, 3 mana, draw 2 cards. Then if you kick it, each opponent discards a card. Pretty good card in a discard deck. It's also just 3 mana, draw 2, worst case scenario, which I believe is the same rate as like Divination or the instant that does it too. It's like Quick Study, I think. Reanimate, it's Reanimate. You're making people discard cards. You're discarding a bunch of your own cards with discard, draw 2. Yeah, put in Reanimate. Rise of the Dark Realms, bring back every creature from all graveyards under your control. Just a good late game bomb. That's the only reason why it's in the deck. And then Victimize, choose 2 target creature cards in your graveyard, sack your creature. If you do, return the chosen cards to the battlefield tapped. I think this is one of the strongest cards in the game. This card just seems giga broken. Obviously, you hit the creature that has to sack it, or you hit one of the 2 creature cards in the graveyard that it's targeting. The spell will fizzle, but I think this card is just super, super good for 3 mana. Should probably go in like every black deck. Quickly going through the lands. I don't think there's anything interesting here. Path of Ancestry, because we're in 3 color. That's the only reason why, really. I'm playing like the Snarls and the Foreboding Runes and stuff because I do have a decent amount of basics in the deck. But yeah, that's really it. On the Maybeboard, kind of just like cards that you could put in and change the archetype to a little bit. If you want to play more Reanimator, there's cards like Animate Dead, Zombify, stuff like that. Final Fantasy just had one. If you want to play more self-discard, like a lot more effects that also make you discard, like the Kefka does, you can throw in a card like Archfiend of Ifnir. Whenever you cycle or discard another card, put a 1/1 count. Put a -1/-1 counter on each creature your opponents control. This card's super good. Bandit's Talent, when it enters, each opponent discards 2 cards unless they discard non-land permanent. Also, at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if the player has 1 or fewer cards in the hand, they lose 2 life. And at the beginning of your draw step, draw an additional card for each opponent who has 1 or fewer cards in hand. If you just go super hard into discard, you probably shouldn't be playing Eggman, but like, and you want to play Eggman, this is probably a good card in the deck. Bone Visor, whenever you discard a creature card, you make a 2/2, discard a land, make 2 black. Whenever you discard a non-creature, non-land, draw a card. Again, if you're doing more like self-discard stuff, I think this card's really, really good. But I'm not. I didn't really want to go that way. There's not that much self-discard in the deck. So yeah, it's just, you could swap it in. Conjurer's Claws, at the beginning of your end step, you flicker a target. If you want to play more flicker effects, obviously it's not great for like Dr. Eggman, but you have a lot of ETB, discard a card, or opponents discard a card. I think this card's really good. Crypt Color Chariot, whenever you discard 1 or more cards, make a tap 2/2 black zombie creature token. Again, self-discard. Cursed Mirror, I just think this card's really good, if I'm being honest. It's a 3 mana clone that's also a mana rock on future turns. So yeah, I think this card's pretty good. And then Go-Go, Master of Mimicry, double X tap, target, counter target, or copy target activator triggered ability. X times, you may choose new targets for the copy. This ability can't be copied and X can't be 0. On your commander, this kind of sucks. You copy it like a billion times with a billion mana that you somehow got, and then they're like, sick, we're just gonna keep letting you put like vehicles and stuff. Although I think you do get all the draws, so this would let you draw for generic mana at the end of your turn. Obviously it copies like Kefka triggers, other ETB discarded card triggers. But yeah, grab the prize. If you want to play more discarded cards, draw 2 cards. There's like 8,000 of them. Yeah, this is just one of them that I have. Also, I think this gets played in like Pauper Burn and Madness Burn or something. Yeah. Liliana's Caress, whenever opponent discards a card, that player loses 2 life. I kind of just didn't put the drain cards. There's also a 3 mana one that does the same thing, but I think it deals damage instead of loses life. Yeah, you could put these in the deck, but I think they're kind of whatever. Notion Thief, this is just a bad guy. Whenever opponent draws a card except the first one each turn, each of their draw steps, they skip that draw and you draw instead. You're not really making players draw cards in this deck. You could put in like Windfalls and Wheels and then be like really mean. Always make it so opponents have cards to discard, but yeah, it's just a mean card. This is a bad guy. And then Shadow the Hedgehog, who's also a bad guy. I kind of put this in last minute because I think it's pretty good in the deck, but I'm not sure. Obviously, double Rakdos, 4/2 haste. Whenever it or another creature you control with flash or haste dies, draw a card, which kind of whatever in this deck. But it's mainly for each spell you cast has split second if a mana from an artifact was meant to cast it. I'm running like 10 mana rocks, I think. So the likelihood of using mana from a artifact to cast a creature or to cast a spell is pretty high. So I thought, maybe giving things split second, but I'd have to play around and like see how reliable it actually is. But yeah, that's the deck. I mean, you can go to Rex, like Coldstoke, Gearhulk. I think it's kind of whatever because it's only a reanimate for 1 turn. Obviously, probably put in way more removal, way more counter spells, way more board wipes in the deck. Just because you should play those in Commander. I didn't because this is kind of just like a list of a bunch of really, really good cards you can play in this deck. And just generic pieces. If you want to get rid of the generic pieces like the Diluvian Primordial or Sepulchral Primordial or Emmet Selch maybe even or whatever, you just put in like removal because more removal is usually more good. The Valiard, your villainous choices trigger twice. I don't think it's very good with this commander. The Reaver Titan, that's a good vehicle you can play, but it's like $20, so I don't really want to put in the deck. But yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back next week with another commander deck. Until then, bye bye.